Hey there, everybody. We're in for another 5.2 Squadron video tonight. Now, tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We don't have a game tonight, but you know what? I haven't been playing for a bit, and I've been thinking I'm actually going to Worlds. Some amazing people from Austin are actually going, but I thought what would be kind of cool is to take a look at some of the shifts and shakeups in the meta that happened for the recent Sith Takers Open, which is just wild. There's some amazing games that I saw. I've been watching some of them on Twitch. So much thanks to the Firecast folks who did some amazing streams. You guys were incredible. And I just thought, I've got a free night for myself. I've got some, great food. I'm here at Tribe Comics and Games, an amazing location here in Austin, Texas. And I thought, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the lists that have recently been shuffled around on MetaWing. And I know there's been like a million podcasts out there who've already done analysis, and probably analysis by better players than I am. But what I think is kind of interesting is to frame looking at these squads that we see with regard to like our local meta, because we've got limited set of players here in Austin, Texas. I'm really interested to see like when I take a look at these, because I haven't done this in a bit, so I'm really curious to see like what they are. When I take a look at these, I'm going to figure out like what they actually look like. And I want to make sure that we're giving y'all like a good experience here. So I'm going to take a quick look and make sure that all this is going right for us on Twitch. We're trying to get into streaming a little bit more here here in Austin, Texas, and making sure that the video's coming through. So I'm going to open up my test client here and make sure that sure enough it's all coming up. Okay, sweet. So let's go ahead and turn this off and go ahead and start sharing the screen here. Let's go ahead and make sure I've got a full screen going. Okay, I think we're doing good. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, so let's see what we've got. So we've got a whole set of new squads that are out. Oh my goodness. So first we have Resistance. Now I do remember some other podcasts mentioning this one. I'm kind of curious because here in Austin, Texas, we do have some folks who are, baffle, really into resistance, who are amazingly skilled at it, particularly with the A-Wings. But something interesting about this resistance list is like no A-Wings whatsoever. So comparing this to some of the resistance head-to-head matchups that we see, this one does have trigger, no, this one has the other Poe Dameron. So this has, actually, so let's see. So this is Ray Falcon. So we're using like the Death Ray. So the role in this list, of course, is like the amazing heavy hitter, just blazes into people with those enormous guns, like super consistent with adding all the extra dice and everything. And then we have the two Y-Wings whose health pushes them up. So we've got Shasa right here. Let me bring her up. So we've got Shasa. I3 Y-Wing, who can get matching tokens, and then Chorus, who also can get tokens. So we got some like cool token sharing at incredibly low initiative, and so low, like we're talking below Arc 170s, which I don't know. If you ask me, like this is just a little. Part of me wonders like how this list actually works, because these days we're seeing so much initiative, like high initiative in First Order and other squads. Ugh. I can't imagine these like Wilians just never getting a chance to outmaneuver anything, just like slowly plodding up the board. That said, when we look at their loadouts, we've got concussion bombs to make sure that you can't get behind them. And we've got dorsal turrets to give them like a 270 degree, or sorry, a 180 degree arc, which can definitely be scary. Really hard to arc dodge that. And wartime loadout, just making them just as hard to burn down as an arc, but small base. So if you're trying to line up bullseye shots or anything else, getting those proton cannons off is going to be a little more difficult. So, gosh, just really, really curious to see like a list like this appear. Like you're seeing resistance without those amazing A-Wings, but somehow makes this work. So thinking about this with regard to our local meta, we do have a player or two who's really good at YT 1300s in resistance. We'd be at a lower initiative here, so this Ray would be outmaneuvered by the other Poe, by the I6 Poe in the Falcon, who can do that amazing double reposition. We do have this Ray, though, where if she gets something in money lane, she can just, start throwing huge numbers of dice and blazing away at it. And then we've got Poe Dameron, who has got, yep, these builds have proton torpedoes, so can dish out some huge pain there, and then have overdrive thruster to make them really squirrely, and the black ones, so that, if they get down to 1 health, they're gone. And so, like, win condition here is if Poe is able to use that, like, slightly beefy, like, with the extra shield T70, soak up damage to where he, like, lives on 1 health at the end of the game, that's amazing. Same thing with Ray. So on one hand, while you kind of have these two target pieces, Poe and Ray, if they are able to soak up enough damage but like end the game on like 1 or 2 health, they've done amazing jobs. And those Y-Wings aren't like doing nothing. I mean, you do have, dorsal turrets on both of them. If they get into range one, they can throw 3 dice, and they're just a good amount of health and hard to kill. And in today's objective format, those Y-wings aren't gonna miss out by having a crate attached to them. If they can't boost their barrel roll, then that's fine for them, right? Like they'll just happily carry those good old crates, and not have to worry about repositioning. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting for us. We don't have anyone here in our local meta who's really playing it. We do have a lot of folks who are doing higher initiative, higher maneuverability resistance. So we're just curious to see what that matchup is. Definitely, there's going to be the temptation to try to flank these two Y-wings and like get behind them. But yeah, I don't know, because if you don't kill a Y-wing or spend too many turns killing it, that's going to feel so bad because that's turns that you don't spend killing a Ray or a Poe. And so if you end up sinking like 2 shots into a Ray or Poe, but nothing else, these Y-wings have done their duty because then they've just totally saved those ships, and you're going to feel really frustrated having wasted those turns shooting like a high initiative and like high value target that you just never got a chance to kill. You just left those points on the board. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Like I think poses a really tough decision for folks, especially I know in our local meta we have a lot of like higher initiative ships. There's a Scum Buzzsaw bag of tricks list that I'd really like to see flown against this. And there's also we've got a good interceptors player who I think flying against these Y-wings is going to have no trouble outmaneuvering them. The problem is they're also going to be squeezed by the Ray and Poe hammer and anvil. So if you get some of those interceptors going after these like slightly these Y-wings that are painting themselves up as targets, those interceptors are just going to have to watch out for just getting swatted from the other side of the map by Poe or Ray. So yeah, really interesting list. Like I'm really happy to see that come up because yeah, definitely not something that someone would have had a chance to play with. Okay, and then we've got resistance, but 6 ship resistance. And I know tons of people talked about this. So we've got here the classic combination of arcs. We've got good old SOC Jag, SOC Oddball, SOC. Well, actually, this is a different wolf. Yeah, so some use SOC Wolf, and then we've got 2 Y-wings again, showing the value of Y-wings. Those like tanky, like small base ship platforms. Here we've got R4Ps, we've got ion cannon turrets. So again, like increasing that amount of damage. Maybe they won't do enough, but they're still gonna strip tokens and worry you through being able to cover so much ground. And then good old Slider and Matchstick. Slider just being unpredictable at I4, and then Matchstick also re-rolling dice if you know trying to get those red maneuvers. I don't know. Matchstick with expert handling is kind of interesting because expert handling turns that barrel roll white. So you're gonna be kind of curious because Matchstick kind of wants to have red tokens on him. Maybe he wants to have locks. Or maybe he wants to be reloading all the time, but I don't know. It's gonna be kind of interesting. Yeah. So looking at this, we do have some resistance players here locally. We do have some folks who are really good at throwing the arcs, but generally what we see are the 3 arc block. With the flankers of like Obi-Wan and Padme got nerfed pretty bad, so maybe you'd replace Padme with something else. But again, you're kind of seeing the difference that we had with that resistance list, where Slider, Matchstick, Broadside. We're seeing no initiatives over 5. So those first order lists that are I5 or above, those will easily be able to outmaneuver these. The question is, with so many ships on the board, whether that outmaneuvering is really going to make a big difference is just going to be really important. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, no, it's a lower initiative, I can outmaneuver it. When there's 6 ships on the board, you can end up in someone's arc. Now, it's going to be tough to focus fire if you're making the big prevent defense and spreading your list out to make sure that you don't miss one of those aces that's going to try to get you. But still, Interceptor, even the new Soontir Felt Interceptor, he doesn't want to lose even a single health in one of these engagements. And a Y-Wing still, if it rolls well and Soontir blanks out, you still chip away at him. So really interesting mix-up. I think what this means is, if I had to guess, this might be able to gatekeep some lower lists. You'll see some people who try to fly high initiative aces. If you're good enough to make sure that you stay out of the arcs of all this, at the end of the day, this is almost like a beefy swarm. So really good ace players are going to be able to maneuver around this. But folks who are maybe taking some of those aces for the first time or don't have a bunch of reps, they're going to wander into 1 or 2 of these arcs and just start losing health really quickly from so many arcs. Not arcs, firing arcs on the board. So yeah, really interesting like development that we've seen here, like the not high initiative resistance. Speaking of high initiative, though, then we get to the first order here. We got the first order players here in Austin. But now this is an interesting one here too, because we do have some high initiative. The first order blend that we've got here has got Midnight at 6, Quick Draw at 6, Kylo at 5, Mowers at 5, Whirlwind at 3, and you're like, oh no, okay, well he's getting dropped down, and then you see Swarm Tactics. Plus, Whirlwind's got that amazing ability who, even though he is engaging at 3, just amazing action efficiency. That ability to say, you know what, I'm gonna get rid of 0 jam tokens and look at the board and say, I want a million focuses. So Whirlwind, not very squishy, and also hilarious art here. That Whirlwind is jousting, 3 resistance Y wings, which is I don't know if we got a list out there that's got 3 resistance Y wings, but still, yeah, Whirlwind's really contributing here with that amazing gem action efficiency, plus being able to be swarmed up to 6. So we're seeing a lot of high agility here, or high initiative here. We can definitely shoot first through some of the lists that we just saw. Real question is, if you look at like the individual health here, Midnight's still only 4, Kylo Ren is 5, Mowers is only 4, so not a ton of health on these. I mean, I guess technically Quick Draws the most health, but Quick Draw is also in a 2 green dice ship. So if people focus fire on Quick Draw for a single turn, they immediately burn that bonus attack, and then Quick Draw's special ability is meaningless for the rest of the engagement. So I mean, we see quick draws die a lot, and I think in this list, if I was some of the others, immediately taking quick draw off the board also gets rid of that swarm tactics that's boosting up Whirlwind, and then even you have those lower initiative ships engaging at 4, just able to paste it off. So yeah, I'm liking where this we're seeing this with the first order. The switch between LaHue's and quick draw, I don't know. I love LaHue's. Personally, having played a bit, I love those barrage rockets. Quick draw with targeting synchronizer. Again, just I don't know. I feel like this is a chance for it just to be so squishy. And especially in a meta that we have like right here, where we've got Scum Buzzsaw, we've got amazingly agile resistance players, and we've got some just amazing lists all over the board. It's this quick draw that I really feel like could be a give up points really easily. So personally, I'd be afraid to run this in our own meta, and I think even taking this to Worlds, I just know if it was me trying to put this on the table, I don't know if I have the skill really to do that. Actually, let me see if we've got anything else coming along here. Okay, got it. So let me go ahead and keep going through some of these. This is kind of fun. I'm having fun looking at these. Like I haven't had a chance to dive into these in any detail. Let's see. We've got another 6-ship Republic. So I'm here at Tribe Comics and Games, and right behind me is the Siege of Coruscant. Amazing, like I don't actually need very many cards. I could just get that pack and start playing some of these. I don't have the ships, unfortunately, but I'll just take a look at these and just like see what we've got. So we've got 2 arcs in this meta. So we've got Oddball and Wolf. So we're not going for the classic 3 arc block, which is kind of interesting immediately because one of the amazing things about that is if you're able to split them up in Assault of Satellite Array, you have medium base ships, so you can have amazing area control with you getting 2 like control points if you're trying to get an objective. So medium base ships there are really, really useful. However, you still have that staggeringly big health with the BTLB Y-Wings. You're mixing it up a little bit in terms of agility, which I really like. Those torrents that you have, so you've got kickback at 5, and then you also have axe at 3. Kickback at 5 is great. One of the tough things about this arc list, and one of the things we would see here in our own meta, is that maybe bombers could out-joust it, or ships that are able to form up into formations around it. Even though the arcs can shoot front and back, if you start tweaking their formation or getting around them, you're able to force them into arrangements that just really isn't optimal. And the 2 torrents, I mean, even though they're not as good as Jedi or TIE fighters, I mean, they're V19s, they're twin ion engines, like they're still pretty maneuverable, so it can help shore up that list's weak spot. Because you've got Y-Wings, really not that great dial. Arcs, really not that great dial. V-Wings, okay. And especially Kickback, who, being a standardized card, has got all those really fun bonuses on top of him. Who's got the barrel roll to lock, and also has Diamond Boron that a lot of people aren't going to be ready for. I think Diamond Boron, we do see Swarm Tactics making a bit of a renaissance right now, and I think Diamond Boron has a really interesting potential to say, hey, everyone who's trying to stay at that nice close range for Swarm Tactics or any of those other, 0 to 1 abilities, have fun with a Diamond Boron missile. If you're able to get it off and able to get it to hit, whew, yeah, I mean worse than a cluster missile by order of magnitude there. So yeah, interesting. We do have the high initiative kickback. All the others, nothing over a 5. So we have oddball and kickback, like kind of leading the squad here. All these other ships can get outmaneuvered, but again with the resistance, one of the strategies here that I think we're seeing with these 6-ship lists is okay, maybe you can arc dodge me. They've got Y wings and arcs, and so maybe you can maneuver around me, but I still have 6 ships on the board. Oh, and by the way, my Y wings have 2 firing arcs, and my arcs have 2 firing arcs. So if you think about like the amount of like firing arc coverage on the board, this is really really tough for those like high agility aces or first order, for instance, or those resistant A wings to maneuver around of. And so I think that's going to be like the trap of this list. When you're coming up with your attack plan against it, you really got to recognize that okay, there are 6 ships on the board, but because of the number of arcs that you're seeing, man, this probably is going to hit like even harder. I mean, that ion cannon turret, no one wants to take that ion cannon. First order doesn't want to take that. Yeah, but anything that wants to take locks, yeah, absolutely not. So, yeah, I think that's one thing to look at this. Like, if you're ever going up against these resistance ones, you got to think to yourself, yeah, it's maybe a 6-ship list, but it really is going to hit harder. Like, you really have to dodge and like maneuver as if it wasn't a 6-ship list. Yeah, speaking of high agility, oh boy, one, two, three, four, five, tie whisper. Man, this is exciting. Okay, I'm just personally getting into first order. Was able to pick up some of them, so just really enjoying how the ships move and all the new different ship abilities. The turret and power cells I think is great. And just kind of fun getting to do a bit of regen, but also be able to use it for the secondary ability. Sorry, by the way, so deterring power. Oh, we can't see it right here, but being able to spend it for getting rid of those tokens. Okay, so looking at what we've got right here. So the strat here is we know that there's a bunch of 3-point ships and all these little tie FOs, and then we've got one hammer. So we've got Kylo Ren and his whisper doing whisper things. We've got Malorus, DT, Midnight, Scorch, no, no, and yeah, okay. So this one says, okay, I've got 5 ships. Looking at Malorus, remember, Malorus doesn't really need any squad ability. Malorus is like totally on his own. DT 798, just about getting straight to roll dice, and you're going to be seeing like a trend here. Midnight. Lock with Swarm Tactics, so Midnight doesn't want to be with a friend. Scorch, doesn't need anyone. No, doesn't need anyone. So on one hand, the ship's native abilities don't really require synergy. And this is something that got me as an Imperial player when I was kind of used to having like overlapping ship abilities that needed me to find the Imperial Swarm. With these, you can space them out. But if you block them up, you've got the Midnight Scorch Null Chain, where suddenly all these are swarming everyone up to incredibly high initiative. I know, again, we've got some scum folks here in Austin who look at this and say, oh, maybe I could do some, I7 swarming and scum. This Swarm Tactics chain is scary. You have like Null to Scorch to Midnight. You have so many ships engaging at Initiative 7. You have the potential to really do some damage here. You've got Fanatical and Marksmanship. Marksmanship, change into crits. Fanatical, letting you, if you lose those shields, roll those, convert those focuses into hits. So yeah, this will be an interesting one. I think those high initiatives earlier in the game are going to give you like some incredible jousting potential. So some people might be baited into an engage with this and not realizing that so many of these ships are going to get those attacks off. Later in the game, if they ever get broken up or the formation changes, it's going to be different. But I think just, one thing that I'm personally going to look at these style lists and try to remember is that, yeah, I'm going to have to just recognize that, down the road, I'm going to have to make sure that, whew, wow, that first engagement is just going to be nuts. Like that I7, we're not expecting it. It's just going to be crazy. You have to make sure that you don't spend. You have to be careful about your token management because you're going to know that you're going to have to be experiencing a ton of attacks before you even get a chance to do anything, even if you think you're at I6. So yes, this is an interesting one. Also something where if you haven't practiced against this, yeah, it's going to be tough. Now, They are still just TIE fighters. They can roll up to 3 dice. There's definitely some other action economy you can see in other lists that can give this run for their money. But still, some interesting potential here. Because they're also squishy. Again, I think we're seeing a bit of a high ceiling list where you can lose a couple TIE fighters and the list kind of starts to lose a little bit. They're not Black Squadron aces. These are worth 3 points and not two. And even though that's just 1 point of difference, like that's gonna add up because these are doing so much more than a Black Squadron ace. So yeah, I don't think you want to be flying this and start losing a bunch of Tie fighters. Okay, and then we've got we've seen this before, the 3T-70, the RZ-2 A-wing, and then the Resistance transport pod. Uh, so we're basically seeing like 5X-wing, always saying, you know what, we're going to substitute something else in here. We're getting that Resistance A-wing, the amazing chassis of the RZ-2, so the I-3 squad. In case you're like, oh, the I-3 squad, I was like, so let's look at some of this. So we've got Poe, 6, LO 5, Lulo 5, Temin 4, BB-8 3. Now let's keep going. So what do we have on this version of it? We've got Poe 6, Lulo 5, LO 5, Temin 3, BB-8 3. So not a I don't know about the I3 squad because not a ton of I3s. I think there might be some other variants of this, but yeah, not a ton of like crazy bags of tricks here. Here we see the Resistance transport pod with that jam ability, taking Chewbacca to help it stay a little bit alive a little bit longer. Here we have BB-8 with Larma Daisy, who's an interesting one. Let's see if we can. Is there any way we can get Larma Daisy crew? Does that work out for us? No. Um, so let me see if I can get Larma for us really quick. I'm going to go to Car Browser, Larma. Okay, there we go. So while you have two of your stress token, you perform coordinate actions. Even while stressed. Okay, so adding the coordinate ability, which is always kind of helpful. But yeah, otherwise we've got just classic, really really good resistance T70s. It's an amazing chassis. So nothing super earth shattering there. You just got to be smart with how you play around those T70s. They're tanky. They can also put a lot of damage. Okay, and we see another resistance. The six. Wait. Is this what I think it is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So 7 ship Republic. Beautiful. So we've got just counting up here. Let me go to. I know there was scum. I know there was scum. But I was just looking at this because we don't have anyone really. And let me see. I know that people can see my camera here. Hopefully I'm not using up too much of the real estate. Okay, well, this is the first time doing face cam and things like that, so I'm hoping we get some feedback about folks to say, hey, change where the face cam is, make it smaller, make it bigger, we don't want to see your face, things like that. So we'll see how this goes. But okay, this is an interesting one because we're looking at resistance, and you know what? What's missing from this? No ARC 170s. So for a faction that has perhaps the best medium base chassis across the entire game. That's not here. Instead, you're seeing the proto TIE fighters, the 1, 2, 3 Nimbus V-wings. We've got the 2 kind of mid clone Z95s, and then the 2 Torrents. So we have how many ships? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 ships. Good heavens! Remember the good old Swarm days when we'd have the Focho, the 8 First Order ships? Well, now if you look at what we've got. The kind of scary thing is we have Boost, who's got Boost with dedicated. We've got Killer. We have Contrail, Click, Oddball, Axe, and Kickback, who are the SOC cards. So in terms of initiative, we've got a 5, 3, 5, 4, 5. Oh my gosh, 2. Yeah, so we have a salad of initiatives here. So speaking of Swarm, this is going to be crazy because this is flying in a whole nother way than folks might be expecting. And then dedicated over here. So dedicated, an interesting one. We've got friendly ships in your side arcs. You can have the defender reroll blanks to on defense. So what you're seeing here is they don't necessarily need to be at range 0 to 1, but they do need to kind of be in their side arcs. So definitely some kind of restrictions or guidance on how you would fly this formation wise. Um, Now we do have swarm tactics on Contrail because it's really important. Contrail's at an I-5, and he wants to be able to bring one of these other tiny little ships up to I-5 too, because we've got some really low ones. Boost on 3, Killer on 2. Um, like Killer is great, for instance, but at 2 just like kind of holds him back. Same with Axe being at 3. So quick contra being able to say, oh, I'm going to swarm somebody up is great. And there's just so many dedicated. So yeah, so these ships are going to be straining themselves to let their friends re-roll dice. It's going to make it really frustrating. You'll attack a ship, it'll re-roll, and it'll survive the damage. And you'll say, oh, well, maybe here I'll go back to dedicated. Well, maybe I should have shot another ship. Ooh, now this one has a deplete or has a strain, so it's got lower inhibitor. So you shoot it, but then it re-rolls one of those dice, and then its friend takes a strain. I think that's going to be one of the tough parts here is when you're making your decision trees of which ship you shoot. I mean, obviously, we're not talking slow play or anything, but like you have to be really careful to think, okay, this ship is going to have a chance of re-rolling those blanks into focuses or evades, and it's going to come at the cost of a strain for one of these other ships. So is there any ways that I can maneuver this squad into really not wanting to strain itself? Because there's going to come a point where a ship strains itself and just makes itself an easy target. So I think one of the things about this list is just setting yourself up to force that player to make bad choices with all those dedicateds. But yeah, this is also, and I've heard other people mention this. This is the kind of thing that's going to just make you tired by the end of Worlds. Here in Austin, I don't think we have a ton of people who fly swarms. So speaking of like Worlds practice, I think it's going to be kind of helpful maybe to see if one of us could break this out. We did have an amazing run of a Decimator tie list. They did amazing at one of our tournaments. But yeah, I think we could benefit from a little more practice against this. No, I love the idea of a swarm. I mean, I know it's going to make you tired, but one fun thing about this note, if you're going to Worlds, none of these ships really have blank abilities. Like, no matter what during the game, you're going to be feeling interactive. This isn't going to be solitaire. Even if you have a Soontir, Vader, Aces list that's just pacing you, you're going to be getting to use Contrail. Killer's going to be surprising people and boost in a Z95. You're going to have those weird giant models on the table. Like, you'll be feeling interactive, which I think is an important thing. Like looking at some of these SOC ships with all of their like huge chain abilities. I think one of the cool things about this, when you're going to Worlds, is recognizing that win or lose, this is going to help keep you in a good head state. You'll feel interactive. You'll feel like you're playing the game that we all like. So, yeah, something to consider because there's only going to be one Worlds winner. But there's also setting the intermediate tournament goals. Do you want to be first in faction? Do you want to get a certain win ratio? Do you want to get enough tickets to where you can go farm? It says there's really cool dice. Yeah, so I think even though this is going to be a little mentally tough to maintain all those formations, I feel like in advance, if you do enough formation drilling, like leaving your templates out and just writing down, oh, this is going to be my formation. This is just remind myself I do a two bank, 3 bank, 1 bank when you're moving around obstacles. I think some of those little things could help take some of the mental wear off this list and just let you enjoy how fun it's going to be to fly this for you, maybe not your opponent. I think for opponent, this presents what we call a fun and interesting puzzle. So we'll see what it's like to go up against this. I can imagine playing my 5 ship first order against this, and yikes! Or even the decimator. I mean, a decimator is gonna hate dying by 1,000 cuts. I'm not even go to the 5 T70s. Get wrecked. Okay, so we've got first order right here. We've got the 2 FOs and 3 whispers. Beauty, just chef's kiss. This is great. How did this do well? Hmm. So we have a 22 in Swiss. Almost knocked 16. The 2 FOs, unsurprisingly, our favorite FOs are Malorus, who can take Glitter Stim to, launch those cluster missiles. And we've got Gaelic, Brown Tradition, Heavy Laser Cannon. Even though, it's just an FO, no one wants to wander into that 4 dice bullseye. So just, worrying people a little bit on the side. And then you've got the glorious Whispers. Tough part about these Whispers, you just look at this. So we've got Boost, Rotate, Barrel Roll, Rotate, Target Lock, Evade. And then if we look at what Enhanced Jamming Suite adds, let me go to Enhanced Jamming Suite. I feel like I really want to have like Scryfall for X-Wing cards. So we've got Focus Jam, Barrel Jam, Boost Jam. I really don't have here don't have target lock jam, but I feel like there's still some design space there because target lock jam just sets you up for just haymaker because you're like, hey, you got your focus token, your focus token. It's like, oh, and you've got a target lock, and then you just get to slam into this ship, especially for Kylo Ren, and you've got the Force already because you really don't like blanks. But yeah, okay, so I get why we don't have target lock to jam. Also, I get. Also, it's kind of cool because canonically, target lock to jam doesn't really make a lot of sense because there's two both like compute heavy actions for a starfighter. So that's kind of cool. It's like, oh, I'm not able to double focus or something like that. But kind of cool. Um, okay, oh yeah, which kind of makes me think. I'm like, speaking of like double actions within a certain like action space. So the same way they don't get focus target lock to jam makes me think: is there a ship out there that can link focus to evade or evade to focus? If there is, it's probably an A wing. I don't know. Someone let me know if like there is there. But I'm like, it'd just be really weird to see what ships the designers decided to say, hey, let's give the ship the ability to token stack and like focus evade or evade focus. I might be completely missing this. It might be like something I'm just obviously not thinking of. But looking at the Whisper and recognizing that, oh yeah, they can't focus. They can't jam target lock. Also thinking, oh yeah, there's probably not a ship that can focus evade and do the defensive complement of that and turtle up. So, okay. So let's see. Yeah, these are just beautiful. We've got Kylo Ren, who just for everyone who's practicing against him. FYI, just watch out for that bullseye. Can just spend a force to flip cards face up, which is just devastating. You don't really want to get any crits with a current 2.0 damage deck. So yeah, we're not talking show me the dark side. We're just talking boom, flip that face up. We also have the brilliant evasion, malice, predator, pattern analyzer. So yeah, so we got a really aggro Kylo here. We got wrath and nightfall. Actually, so that's yeah, so we've got Wrath and the Whisper, and then Nightfall as well. Jamming ships if you run through them. Wrath also after performing doing bonus attacks. So yeah, Whispers just really squarely ships. Tough part about Whispers is that they're only 5 health and 2 agility if they don't get their jams or like special ability off with that enhanced jamming suite. So Whispers can just pop, but can definitely be a very high skill ship list to fly or a high ceiling squad. So we don't see a ton of this. I think this is going to be tough. I think if you lose to this at Worlds, this might be like, oh man, I lost to this. But gosh, if you're playing this, you have to be on your game because it's just going to be so easy to have one of these Whispers explode, and then you're out so many points. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this. I think the Whisper's a glorious ship. Like right behind me is another chance for a Whisper. So I don't know. I'm really thinking about getting another one, but we'll see. Okay, let's just see. We're already up to 11. Okay, I skipped the scum one. This is just so cool. So looking at the scum squad, so we've got good old Sarasu, flight instructor. Man, shockingly powerful ship here. Small friendly at 0 to 1 defense. You can reroll one of its dice. Amazing. Just infinite elusive for your whole squad. No cost, no anything like that. Bam. So definitely gonna paint a target on its head. At the end of the day, it's still just a M3A interceptor, so not a ton of points. You've got Dirge, who's just amazing at baiting other ships. Lee Makai, who's able to get locks and lob those plasma torpedoes. And then this one's got Dace, Bonarm, and Manaru. So able to do a lot on the joust. And Dirge with those proton cannons, oof. We've got Manaru with Punishing One, who can actually throw that extra die. Dace, Bonarm. This was an interesting build that like could do special ion, could super ionize you, but had no native ability to do ions. I think part of it was just the I4 and the multi-crow title. Yeah, a cool Dace. I really like the scum list. Sarasu is just an amazing card. Dirge, I just hate. Shockingly survivable with that really cool ability. So yeah, again, the bait of like, oh my gosh, you're accidentally spending all these turns like lobbing shots into Dirge. Eef, that's going to be tough. Okay, so let's see. Let's keep on going back. Let's go through these. Hopefully folks are enjoying this. I mean, I'm having fun. I don't get a chance to hang around here and just do like fooling around with lists. So I'm really curious to see like what's the meta. Yeah. Oh, there's 5 resistance X-Wings. Nope, get wrecked. So we've got another Scum, 2 Fangs, a Rogue, a Y, and a Z. Oh, just the variety here. So cool. Let's see what we've got in Scum. And where did this come from? Again, probably a lot of these come from that amazing Sith Taker Open. We got so many players out there. The Fen Rao Old Tarok list. Man. So yeah, so we've got, good old Fen Rao, Fearless Predator, Beskar, Mandalorian Optics. Turns out all the Mandalorian upgrades on a Mandalorian make a difference. Sweet. Now, if only we could give him afterburners for cheap, then just, devastating. But yeah, so good old Lord of Variants, Fen Rao, 5 dice, range 1. Oh, Tarok, the Prospector. Steal prospecting those green tokens away from people. And yeah, also what a cool list picture here. Reminds me of a who's that artist? Um, it's also because I'm looking at this and I'm just those patterns of ships look so strange. Like, is it just me or is that Star Destroyer a resistant or a First Order Star Destroyer? I don't know. Just really cool art. But yeah, so we got the two fangs, just blazing through. We have, let's see, what do we have? Yeah, we've got the two fangs, and we've got Bosk, Bosk an amazing filler, Lima, Kai, and Dirge. So very strong scum pieces. Lima, Dirge, Bosk. Only we're replacing our other stews with our 5 and 6 fangs. Now, tough things about these fangs. At I3, they just can evaporate, right? They don't get their ability off. They get a little bit of bad variance. If you don't happen to be doing a face off with them and Beskar plating can't proc, then man, these can evaporate. So that Ray squad, or any of the ones with torpedoes and are just throwing munitions, yeah, these have a chance of exploding. But we've seen how good Fenrau was. The Boba Fen days when Boba and Fen could solo an entire squad. So yeah, maybe it's going to be tough with the objective format. I don't know if these things are going to want to grab boxes or spend their actions not defensively. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see. I think an interesting practice that I'm maybe going to see if I could do maybe in about 2 weeks. Some folks are just saying, okay, I'm just going to put Super Fenrau on the board and just go kill him. And I'll do as much damage as I can with Super Fen before the just to get someone practice moving their squad around, using all their triggers, and actually having an I6 out there that they actually have to run down and kill. So I think could be a fun practice, and it's nice to see Fen Rao making a comeback. I really don't know if we're going to see Fen in like the top cut at Worlds, but it's nice to see the ship there, and I think also could be a fun practice. For the Fen player, you've got your boost barrel roll to focus, which you're going to be taking incredibly often. You've got that nice dial on the Fen, and you don't have a ton of like active abilities. You've got Fearless Predator, Optics, Beskar, so not a huge decision tree. You're just thinking, like, you get to just enjoy thinking 2 to 3 turns ahead, figuring out where you're going to put your Fang Fighter, which can be fun. So yeah, I think it'll be a fun practice. Maybe we'll do that. Hey, let's go kill Fen Rao as a practice, like before Worlds, just to get folks up to speed. Let's see. We've got the Resistance Salad, T70 A-Wing. Do we have anything else? Okay, so what I was curious to see is if we get anything that leverages the new Battle over Endor cards. Not seeing a ton. Now, I mean, of course, this is Meta-Wing, and it's a little, I don't want to say biased, but the sorting algorithm is what it is. So we might not get a chance to hit any of those. But let's see what we've got with this one right here. So with this Meta-Wing, yeah, so it's Hera in the B-Wing. So we're not actually seeing any of the new ones. But we've got Hera, so she can lob tokens at someone else. So, just great. If she ends up outmaneuvering people or doesn't end up spending her token, then, can just pass it around, do some hollow action. Then we've got Chopper and Kanan. We've got the full Ghost, full Phoenix Cell here, which is just super cool. Full, like, Rebels action. So, again, this is kind of thing where you've got 2 VCXs. I think it could still be, like, a really tough mental game to play these because, A, you've got to keep the VCXs from running into each other with them being at different initiatives or hitting the rest of your squad, and B, with one of these VCXs, you've got an ion cannon turret on Kanan and a dorsal on Chopper, so you do have extra arc coverage, but you can still get outflown. You can get those too far away, or you can have them just not be in a good position to be in the fight, and it's just going to feel really bad. But you can still outmaneuver one of these giant ones, even if they've got double arcs. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of thought to moving these VCXs. Now you've got Sabine, who's maybe your objective getter. And then you've got Hera, who's going to want to stick next to the squad so that she can use her ability. And this build has swarm tactics. So yeah, this is the fun and interesting puzzle here because you've got to somehow move around Kanan and Chopper and Hera so that she always ends up at range one of someone without bumping them. So yeah, definitely you might say, oh, it's only four ships, not that tough. And then you realize that wait, Sabine's 3 points. Chopper is 14, so you've got 28 points of health between Kanan and Chopper. Hera adds another 8, so you've got 36, 39 points of health. Whew. This is a big one. And then Kanan, of course, is great because if you think about, okay, we've got 39 points of health. Every time Kanan runs one of these, uses his ability, you are essentially adding a health to the ship because you're just auto canceling a die. That die was never rolled. Like maybe it rolled a crit, but it's gone. So yeah, Kanan artificially inflating the health of this list could be really devastating. It just could take way longer to burn down than you ever expect. Sabine's 3 agility. She's a TIE fighter. Can be tough to pin down. Hera's B-Wing. B-Wings can be tough. What's the build with this B-Wing? We do have jamming beam, which is kind of fun. The jamming beam on that B-Wing, if you ever get in a situation where someone's like maybe got a proton torpedo locked on one of the ghosts or a plasma torpedo with Hera and with that stabilized S-foil, so you can say, oh, Hera's defense and maybe she's going to use her ability, but she's actually just going to use jamming beam to try to like break that lock and like turn off that torpedo. So a really little cool tool in the like toolbox. I'd love to see Hera using that jamming beam to like get that token off for people. I think that'd be really really cool. You'd feel so proud of yourself for being like, hey, I'm not going to do damage with Hera's gun, but I'm going to jam off something. Again, win condition for this, both ghosts still on the board. Now, you might still lose to like not being able to grab enough objectives, but I think, win condition for this, as your opponent, if you still see both ghosts on the board at the end of the game, oh, that's going to feel so bad. Maybe you'll kill Hera, but, yeah, both ghosts on the board is going to be tough. And Kanan neutralizing that ability, and then Hera jamming, beaming off tokens. I think like yeah, that'd be really fun. I do own 2 ghosts. I do own a cool B-wing. Yeah, maybe this will be one I'll throw on the board. Again, not one that we see a lot of here. I think I've seen maybe a ghost. So yeah, just to mix things up for folks, I think maybe I'll see if I can get a Hera squad out there just so folks can get some practice with this. Let's see. We've got the Rebel Swarm, 2 Y-wings, 2. And I think we've heard some people cover this before. Still, are we getting any BOE? No. We've just got some of the pieces we really like. Keo and Sabine. Yep. Wedge Hole. Psalm and Blount. Ezra Bridger, TIE Fighter. What does he do? So Ezra, our character who, all over the place. In the Rebels TV show, his mechanics revolve around stress. If he's stressed, he can spend a force to change. Basically, if he's stressed, his force gets even more effective, which I think is kind of cool. I think it's kind of fun. To change his focuses to evades or hits. So yeah, pretty cool there. Yeah, again, this whole squad, if you look at the overall agility levels on this, so we have 31st in Swiss. We've got, what do we have? A 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. The highest initiative here is 4. So on one hand, you could look at this as a feature. There's a whole idea of like the growth mindset. So when you find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, I naturally wouldn't like this, flip your, try to get yourself thinking different and be like, why would I like this? Like why would I enjoy this? So if if I was to move away from my like high initiative, First Order or Empire and say, why would I enjoy this? One of the nice things is I'm always going to get a chance to get those actions off. I get to dictate where my ships go. I'm not going to get blocked. I'm going to get a chance to put my pieces on the board and have my opponent make decisions around me. And that's kind of cool. That could definitely make me feel better. And especially, looking at this again, we don't have double tapping. But with this six ship list, we do have the two Y-wings with turrets, both of those dorsal turrets. Now they're only 2-die turrets, so they're going to slap like a pancake, but still it'll make it feel like you've got 8 ships on the table with those 8 arcs. And you've got Keel with concussion missiles, who can shoot a little bit stronger than you expect for an A-wing. You've got Horton Psalm with advanced proton torpedoes, who again could just really slam into someone. Plasma on Psalm, and then Blount, just Blount. But okay, so not wait. So is there? Yeah. So there's not a single native 3-die attack in this list. Whoa. But if we go with the Paul Hebert chest, we can do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So you can roll 14 red dice on an engage. I remember Hayes was talking about, it's like, oh, you should be able to roll 15. Now, if you're able to use those concussion missiles or those plasma torpedoes or the advanced proton torpedoes, I mean, you could easily get up to that level of damage. So if you're saying I'm getting at least 1 munition off every turn and I'm somehow getting all my dice in the fight, yeah, you're throwing 15 dice every turn, which is not bad. I mean, even though you individually might not be scared of these ships, I mean, we're looking at a swarm here, and swarm do swarm things. This list here, beautiful. This is a this looks like a crispy list here. This first order one. I don't know who it was. Yep, Chris Demas. Yep, there we go. It's got to be a Chris. Blackout, Recoil, Rush, Kylo. So again, not the super highest initiative, and because these are all being flown as aces, we don't see no swarm tactics or anything like that. But oh yeah, this is the one where we've got 3 proton rockets and a concussion missiles. So munitions coming out of nowhere. Those proton rockets really having the. I'm sorry, just proton rockets. So many proton things, cannons, cannon battery, rockets, electroproton, a lot of proton stuff. Proton rockets. So we got a 1 to 2. So we aren't able to do that thing where we deny the range bonus at 3 because we can only use it between 1 and 2. But still, unusual amount of dice. Someone's going to make the mistake of wandering into that arc and just getting pasted. So yeah, really, really fun to fly, I bet. Like, you can just pick up your ships and put them anywhere. They're not an Actus, but still you can do amazing things. Speaking of Actus, we do see here an Actus list, but I'm going to skip it on principle. The Decimators. So we've got 2 decimators with 3 ties. Who was this? We've got a 1 person making this. Okay, let's see what we've got. And we've got Rack Oiken, not Morna. So I guess maybe this is a feature, Oiken being able to just ram into people. Gosh, I love it. Ruthless Marksmanship, Seventh Sister, the Child, Agile. Yeah, Oiken at lower initiative is going to maybe be a magnet for damage. He's like, hey, he wants to throw himself in there, so the likely of maybe him missing or someone being able to barrel roll at the last second to get the range 1 instead of the range 0. Yeah, so he's going to be taking some damage. So that Child definitely able to help recover those force because he's going to be taking damage. Agile Gunner, because yep, he's gonna take a crit and gonna get Parent Pilot at some point. Speaking of stress, though, he's like, hey, if I'm stressed, you're stressed. So Seventh Sister is gonna punish people. Death Troopers, if you're able to sandwich people between all these ships, yeah, stress is just gonna be wreaking havoc with you. And then the BSA is just out there to gather objectives. Looks really fun. The BSAs are nice and simple to fly. The Decimators don't have a super ton of triggers. You've got Seventh Sister and Vader and your Ruthless to remember. Ruthless. Oh, amazing. On a Decimator, I mean, there's no better upgrade you would put in that slot. So yeah, another fun one. We don't see. I used to do a bunch of double Decimator myself, but don't recently. But we'll see. So let's see here. Let me get to back to where we are. There we go. Let me see what we've got. Let me get back to see if there's anything else interesting. Whoa, so we've got the 3 arcs and a Delta 7B. So we've kind of seen this before in the past, so not going to mention this, but there's like the common strategies around how you would run around arcs. Only this time you have a Delta 7B making yourself a nuisance. We got the same thing only now instead of Padme and an arc, you've got a V-Wing and Z95. We have the amazing Separatist here in at 26. Do we have any other Separatists beforehand? Ugh, I'm sorry. I think CIS is just, yeah. So, whoever wins Best in Faction CIS at Worlds is going to be wild. Like, hats off to you. And look at this variety. So we've got a Rogue class, 2 HMP Roombas, a Nantex, a droid and a vulture. Okay. Um, yeah, this is definitely a Sith Taker open. I heard some people run this. Again, this is yep Sith Taker open squad, 40th in Swiss. So top 50% easily on top 30 or top top 33% almost. And yeah, so don't know of a lot of people who are going to be playing against this kind of variety. Let's see, we've got concussion missiles and clusters. So the repulsor stabilizers mean that if you're trying to outfly this and trying to make sure that those like valuable low health aces are staying out of arcs, it's just going to make it tough. You're going to make a mistake, and the HMP will just get lucky and just lob a concussion or a cluster missile into you. I mean, and that's one of the things that this is going to catch. Like, it's got some unusual mobility. The vulture classes, it's got grappling struts, so you're gonna it's just going to sit on a rock. You've got Churtak, who's doing that cool tractoring. You've got the Tri-Fighter with afterburners and can do that little like boosting itself around. And you've got good old Dirge. And this is the Dirge who just doesn't die. So I think one of the interesting things here is you're going to be seeing a lot of I didn't expect this ship to be in that position, because with Dirge you expect him to be dead and he's there. But yeah, so this will be an interesting one. Again, we don't see a ton of this ourselves. I think one of the things that's interesting for Worlds is if you're really planning on going and being serious, even though you might not see a ton of CIS in your meta, even though we might not be seeing a ton of it online, just take a look at some of these squads perhaps. I'm no expert, but just trying to like chip in. If I was going to Worlds, I would personally want to take a look at some of these just so I don't get surprised, because personally, it would feel really bad to be like, oh man, I found a cool list, but then I lost to it. Even though I feel like maybe, I mean, no offense to CS players, but just looking at some of this, I don't know if this is really a high contending list for Worlds. But I just feel it would be really tough if you lose to one of these things and then just say, oh, I could have won if I hadn't been surprised. Like, I hate to lose a game based on being surprised and not like recognizing triggers. So yeah, maybe worth taking a look at some of this, refamiliarizing yourself with some of those CIS lists or cards out there, so that you don't accidentally land yourself right in the middle of this cluster missile, concussion missile, energy charge, energy shell attack. So let's keep going. So we've got the rebel bomber, or sorry, the Empire bombers. Oof. Let's see what we've got here with the bombers. With the bombers, interesting. This was a Sith Taker Open, so is this a post point? So we've got Tomax, Marksmanship Barrage, Saturation Barrage Bomblet, Marksmanship Barrage. So we're losing the Saturation Salvos, so we're not able to do that like frustrating reroll that we used to, and we're not doing bombs. But honestly, I think this still have a lot of legs, because those the bombs were tough when you fly this information. You can't always get bombs off unless it's that last ship, because you risk bombing yourself. So honestly, I think just having one bomb on the squad is fine. You are missing 2 saturation salvos, which is really tough. So we'll see. But it's nice to see bombers still out there. This CIS, 3 rogues and a fire spray. What on earth? Yeah, so speaking of things that you need to remind yourself, Cad Bane, Dirge, IG 111, and Zam. Someone's going to look at this and just be totally surprised. So, again, I guess like Dan's tip for Worlds, maybe get if you're on an airplane. I know like people talk about like Yasby versus Launch Bay Next, but I mean that Launch Bay Next app, beautiful. So maybe get the Launch Bay Next app, have fun fooling around with some of the cards on the airplane. Just remind yourself of some of these other factions that you don't run into again, so that you don't fall into the trap and end up losing a match because you forgot or missed a trigger. So let's keep going. I don't see how we're doing on time here. I think we've been going for about an hour. Good heavens, I've been having a lot of fun. Thanks, folks. Hopefully some people have on a Monday night get a chance to listen to a little bit of X-Wing. All together, if I look at all of these, I like seeing the lat. That's cool. What do we have here? So we've got Annie, Rick, good old-fashioned Rick with Predator, Lone Wolf, Oddball, and the Arc, Matchstick, and the what? Matchstick, and Sicko. Okay. Okay. And with Cisco with a gonk. Yeah. I'd make gonk happen, please, people. And angled. What? What? Okay. So we have a red reinforced naturally, but with angled deflectors on. So just to make sure everyone knows what that does. Angled deflectors. Angle deflectors actually takes the shield away and gives you a white reinforce. So here, we're taking that arc and we're giving it. You rocked yourself on turn one, so you're 9 health. You're not 10, but you can white reinforce, which is, I guess, kind of cool. Pretty neat. Let's see if there's anything else here that will catch us by surprise. We've got a Fireball Y-Wing. We've got another Salad. I'm not seeing a lot of those BOEs, but we don't have a ton of opportunities for this yet, and especially with a lot of people already having received their Worlds invites. I think the tough thing about Meta Wing is that we're going to be seeing it kind of stagnate a little bit because we're not going to be seeing a lot of tournament updates get rolled into it. The 4-arc Y-Wing list, so much beef. 9 times 3, so 4 is 36 plus the, yeah, that's going to be fun to chew through. And then again, all the arcs also shooting front and back. So again, even though that's 4 arcs, 4 arc 170s, 8 arcs to deal with. Ooh, it's going to be a tough one. Anything else really cool? Now we're getting into the dregs here at the very bottom. We've got a bunch of A-Wings and the VCX. That'll be cool. We've got the classic 2BAs, Whisper, some high initiative like FO Aces. We've got what? What? Was it Mauler who said the famous what? So we have Maul in the Gauntlet, Lord of the Shadow Collective, da 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 da. And we've got Han Solo. Wow. Also, we got a really nice Han Solo build with Trick Shot to get the extra die, Lando for the reroll by spending one of the Perceptive co-pilots, and then Greedo. So yeah, I love this Han Solo build. Super cool. Then we have Arliz, Hadrassian, and Lima Kai and the Y-Wings. Again, very almost like that resistance build that we saw earlier, with like the 2 heavy hitters and then the 2 like Y-wing traps. Also with dorsal turrets, so shooting much more arc coverage than people might expect. So aces that are trying to sneak up on them and punish the lower agility, slower moving ships. It's gonna be tough to hit those. Yeah, I kind of like it. So we're seeing kind of the scum complement to resistance. The question is really like who wore it better, the 2 hammers plus 2 Y-wings. Wartime loadout really makes the resistance Y-wings work really nice. Okay, I think folks, we might call it here. It's been fun talking to people about this. This has been really a treat. We got a chance to take. Okay, what is this? Is this 5 fangs? Yeah, boy. And this is all. Okay, so we've got some. I don't know if we could fit all of the named fangs. Okay, so we've got Joy, Cad, Royal Guard, and Torfung. And the Royal Guards have the guard ability. So if our friendly non-small ship defends, the tough part is there are no non-small ships. You're all small ships. So get right. So literally a blank ability. On the Mandalorian Royal Guard, you are literally just taking this thing because it's got Concordia face off. So at range 1, Joust can get that auto evade, and the cool platform. What are they equipped with? Marksmanship. So they're facing Beskar because they want to be facing you, and Mandalorian. Yep. Okay. Mandalorian, Beskar. The Mandalorian abilities on Mandalorians. Makes sense. Yeah, pretty cool. This would be a fun one. Do not own 5 fangs. I don't know if I recommend this, but this would also be a dream to fly. Maybe not as fun as the Mandalorian Royal Guards. I think there's going to come a point in the game where you're like, yeah, it'd be nice to have an ability, and paying 4 points for this ship without an ability, even though you get the same chassis, same initiative, same dial, all that. On one hand, while that like makes your decision tree a little easier, it's just you're gonna feel like, oh man, I wish I got more for 4 points, especially when you consider what some of the other factions get at 4. So one thing I didn't talk about is like the pound for pound. Hey, 4 points in this faction gets you this. 4 points in this faction get you this. Like a Reaper for 4 points is like, eh. Then when you consider an Arc 170 at 4 points, it's just amazing. So yeah, rip the Reapers. Wish we could see more of them on the table, but we used to, I think, 1 Reaper up above. What on earth? Oh, okay, you get the 3 ship Rebel here with what expensive VCX. So we have Hera with 5, Jan at 5. So we got a 5-5-5 with some expensive ships. Yeah, this would just be a tough one. This will be. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be fun, but again, like you don't have I6, you don't have the ability to really, yeah, you don't have the ability to deal with those I6s. You don't have any really good tools for bringing them down. It'd be fun, but I just, yeah, I don't know, the three rogues, Bellblab and Hyena. Cool. You've got your other CIS down here, and then you got your four interceptors. You got the Blue Angels with Merle. That's great. But yeah, so really excited to see how Worlds comes out. We've got some really exciting play that's going to be coming in just a handful of weeks. We're obviously going to be practicing here in Austin at Tribe Comics and Games. So hopefully going to be getting a couple more stream games in. I'm testing out a new headset, so hopefully the audio is coming in nicely. I know that in some of my past games, I got to ASMR everyone with my whispers, and hopefully this time I'm not doing that and not giving everyone the whisper anymore. So we're gonna be hopefully giving some folks a new fun experience going forward. Really appreciate everyone hanging out with me here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see the store behind me. Again, this has been a lot of fun. We didn't get a chance to do any X-Wing today, but got a chance to talk about this. You can see where I am in the store. Hearing about some of these squads and looking at some of these ships definitely makes me consider, like, oh, maybe do I need another Whisper? I think at this point, just a few weeks to go. I think a lot of us aren't really changing our lists, like changing factions or anything really big. It's really just those final tweaks. I think one of the things that's going to make people really successful is, again, just having that little bit of mental prep, not forgetting triggers, staying fresh, and hopefully listening to something like this, hearing a little bit of X-Wing, in the back of your head helps give you a little bit of staying current with the game as we all start ramping up. Remembering those triggers, hearing about different ways to think of it, hearing a different perspective. Again, there's some amazing people online who offer some truly fantastic insights. Just hoping to chip in a little bit. And thanks, everyone. It's been fun going on this journey with you all. We're going to be signing off here next week. Hope to give you some games from Tribe Comics and Games with a new headset, with a new setup. But until then, thank you very much for joining me, everyone. And this is 512 Squadron Norby signing off. Thanks, everybody.